Yeah, we're live. So, welcome everyone who is watching these demos. Today is June 25th. We have a first part of Google Summer of Code demos by Jenkins students. We have two presentations today. Yeah, sorry. Parichay will talk about multi-branch support for GitLab ACM. Then Abhyudaya will talk about role strategy performance improvements and performance test framework for Jenkins. And then Prastik will talk about the ongoing progress for pipeline support in promoted builds plugin. Just to make sure, do you see my screen? Okay, I guess so. This meeting has been broadcasted in YouTube. If you're interested, there is a link. And if you want to ask any questions, please ask the questions in the Gitter chat. Jenkins project has a special chat for Google Summer of Code. It's Jenkins CI/GSoC SEEK special interest group. And during the demos, if you watch in YouTube, just join to this chat and ask questions there. We will make sure to ask them to the presenters. And yeah, I guess that's it with the introduction. So yeah, as I said, today is only first part of the demos. Tomorrow we will have a second part at 4 p.m. UTC. So there will be another 3 presentations there. And yeah, this is just the beginning. It's a first coding phase. So stay tuned for more demos and for more presentations in the next few months, because there will be a lot of things to show as a part of Google Summer of Code. Okay, Parichay, are you ready?
Okay. So I'll just turn off my camera to save my bandwidth.
Okay.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, okay. We do see your screen and you're marked as presenter, so everything will be recorded correctly in YouTube.
All right. Welcome to the presentation of multi-branch pipeline support for GitLab, GSoC 2019 project under Jenkins organization. Okay, so this is about me. I'm Parichay. I'm from Odisha, India. I like to contribute to open source projects, and I'm also a big football fan. These are my mentors. They help me with code reviews, give suggestions, and also contributions to the code. So the goals of the project, we are implementing a GitLab API plugins that wraps GitLab for Java APIs. Then we will create a GitLab plugin that is lightweight and depends on GitLab API to delegate, GitLab API plugin to delegate all the GitLab API calls. And a GitLab branch source plugin for multi-branch pipeline jobs and folder organization. Multi-branch pipeline jobs are for repositories with multiple branches, either for creating new features, or the multiple branches can be for creating new features or for creating merge requests. And folder organization is a collection of these multi-branch pipeline jobs for a user or a group. I'm having some background noise. And a GitLab Blue Ocean plugin for pipeline jobs, which is based on GitLab repositories. Like presently we have support for GitHub and Bitbucket, so this will add GitLab support in Blue Ocean. And we are also aiming to have a clear and efficient design of the plugins, trying to make a clean and bug-free UI, and also writing modular codes for future extension of these plugins. This is the first release of our project, GitLab API plugin. It basically wraps GitLab for Java APIs. So why do we need API plugin? Okay, so there are two reasons for this. The first reason is about why we need an API plugin in Jenkins. This is in order to have a centralized control of API releases. This reduces the maintenance burden of the child plugins that depend on the APIs. So we can create releases from the one GitLab API, I mean the API plugin, and all the rest child plugins can decide whether they want to upgrade or not. It depends on them. And the reason for creating the specific GitLab API plugin is that uh, uh, we want developers want the APIs to be stateless. I mean, they just want to make API calls to an endpoint and not concerned with the API implementation. This is a practice used by GitHub plugins. So we are trying to do that in this. And there are multiple reasons why we chose GitLab for Java APIs that can be seen in the wiki page. I'll leave a link below. GitLab branch source plugin. This is I'll just give a quick description of what the features there are, and then we'll go directly to the demo. So uh, this part is about we have implemented GitLab server configuration. It basically configures a GitLab server in Jenkins. There are some new features such as creating a GitLab personal access token inside Jenkins itself. You do not need to go to a server to create access token. You directly do it in your Jenkins. And to allow duplicate server entries by providing a unique ID to them. I mean, you can have same GitLab server but multiple entries of that. And we are presently targeting to support GitLab server versions above 11.0. But since our API support have calls for, support API calls for servers about 9 and above. So in future, if users request or there is a need, we can do minor changes to the code, and we can support lower versions as well. And we are adding JCasc support, which is let the user configure the UI without going actually to the UI, and just by using a YML file. That is quite convenient for users, especially using continuous integration. Uh, this part is about how it helps the developers. Uh, we are creating a cleaner and there is a GitLab plugin, but what we are trying to do here is a cleaner and modern code base which supports API plugin features such as token creator, etc. uh, the most This plugin is quite inspired from the other plugins like BT, GitHub, and GitLab plugin as well. So uh, we have support for GitLab API plugin, incremental tools as well, which is used to create incremental releases that can be used by PRs to check whether the downstream plugins, the child plugins that depend on the plugin, work properly if there is a work in progress on a new release. And Maven check style, which enforces good coding style, and Java 8 compatibility as well. We are using trying to add as much as Java 8 compatibility using Streams API, which was introduced in Java 8, and it makes code more modular and more readable. So we're using that, and we are using one of the later version of Jenkins, which is 2.1.50. The the main reason is it implemented a persistent descriptor that automatically calls load, meaning it loads XML data from the disk when the object is instantiated. The UI reflects the state of the object at runtime. So this this was added in this version of Jenkins. So we are depending on that, and we are right now discussing that if it is possible to upgrade to the latest version of Jenkins in the next release. Okay, so this is the code organization. we are using io.jenkins plugins package, and here is a package which is GitLab server configuration, which contains code related to the server configuration in our plugin. The credentials part, it implements it extends an ID credential, which implements a personal access token which is specific to GitLab only. So this way the credential list box gets populated with our specific GitLab personal access token. And here the servers, we have uh, server configurations. GitLab server, it represents it is a abstract describable, and it represents one GitLab server entry. It has all the fields and etc. And GitLab servers, it extends global configuration, and it also implements the persistent descriptor that I described, how it helps to uh, use the object state at runtime. And we have one which is this extension, which is a GitLab Personal Access Token creator, which basically helps us to create a token inside Jenkins itself. So this is our UI. Um, this is the basic configuration of GitLab server. There is a unique name that is generated by which the GitLab servers are filtered, and you provide the GitLab server URL, which is by default populated with the link to the GitLab Community Edition SaaS server. And here is the credential list box that you can populate by selecting the drop down. And if you want to select if you want to manage the GitLab webhooks on your Jenkins server, so you can check this option. Right now, this is a work in progress because this has a correlation with branchers. So after implementing, the branchers will uh, implement this. Uh, this is GitLab token creator. So you provide your GitLab server URL here, and you have two options. Either use your credential, that is a persistent credential, uh, username, password credential that persists in your Jenkins. You can use that, or you can directly provide your credential to the UI, I mean Jenkins configuration, and you can create a token. It will give you an ID of that. Okay, so I'll go to the demo of how it works. So this is my local Jenkins instance. Go to manage Jenkins, configure systems. So I have a GitLab server configured here. Let's delete it. Okay, so for the initial setup, you will get a GitLab this state, and you have to add your GitLab server here. So this is the unique name and server URL credential. So this is a previous ID of the token, but maybe you want something else. So we can directly create our credential from here. We click advanced, convert login to login password to token. So this is the server that I'm providing. So I'll use my, I do not have a credential, so I'll use my login ID password. It's just communicating with the server to create a token for you. Okay, so the credential is created with this particular ID. Let's note D29C. So I choose this D29C. We have a webhook. So this is a work in progress. I'm just ignoring it right now. So I'll just tell you can just test the connection here. Okay. So credentials verified for user. And if you see this, this is an invalid token. So it says not valid, unauthorized. So this was about how you configure a server using the UI. And yeah, so as I was talking about Jenkins code as configuration, this is the YML file that you can use. This is a sample of that. So it contains two parts. This is the credentials. You can define the scope, give an ID. You can define a token here. So this is of course an invalid token, but you can either directly give your token here, or you can use an environment variable for that. Jenkins, I mean JCask has a nice documentation about handling secrets in their repository. And and the second part, it deals with our plugin, which is creating a um, server entry with credential ID, which is referring to here. And if you want to manage hooks and name of that ID, this is optional, and the server URL. So I'll just show how it works. So this is my Jenkins YAML file. I'll copy that. You can go to this path, configuration as code, and yeah, I paste the path and I'll apply new configuration. Look, it says configuration applied. I'll just refresh this page. Okay, so this is our we supplied the server URL gitlab.gnome.org, and this has created entry for that with the server name as well, and the credential ID selected, and manage hooks. Okay, so this is all that I've worked in this phase one evaluation. I mean, phase one coding phase. So these are the resources that basically is the source code and wiki, and the issues that we've solved, and the open issues as well. And here is my blog link. If you want to know more about the progress and what all work I did, you can just refer to my blog. I write weekly blogs. Okay, so this was me at the beginning of coding phase. But slowly I learned from other plugins code base, Jenkins documentation, and mentors code review. So this phase we've solved a lot of bugs, and it was fun. Okay, thank you Jenkins and GSoC for giving me this opportunity to work on a real world project.
Yeah, and thank you too. So the project just starts, I guess. So Marky or anybody else, would you like to add something?
I would like to add, Prachi, this is really, really good, and I am really proud of you. You did a lot of hard work, and it shows. So thank you very, very much.
Thanks, Maki.
Thank you. Are there any questions? It looks no. So in GSoC chat, there are some discussions about which Dart theme you use for Jenkins. But yeah, not that much specific to the project.
Okay, so what was the question, Oleg?
Which Dart theme do you use for Jenkins? Because yeah, on your site you had a Dart version of Jenkins from UI.
I'm not able to hear you. Sorry.
Is my audio good enough?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, so Yeah, so I was just asking about the dark theme you were using on your slide somewhere. So is it an existing theme for Jenkins, or how did you get that?
Yeah. It's a Google slide. They have an option for dark theme.
Oh, so yeah, it's just Google slide in the inverting screenshots.
Okay. For the Jenkins UI, you mean?
Yeah. Okay.
The screenshots. Okay, yeah. So they directly have a option to convert it to invert the colors. So
Okay.
I did that.
Okay. So nothing specific to Jenkins. Okay. Thank you. So if there is no other questions, we can just proceed to the second demo. Okay. Abhyudaya, ready?
Yeah, I'll share my screen.
Okay.
Hi everyone, I'm Abhyudaya, and today I'll be showing you a presentation on running GMH benchmarks for Jenkins plugins. So let's just start with what is JMH. JMH stands for Java Micro Benchmark Harness, which is an OpenJDK project. What JMH basically does is it runs the benchmark codes multiple times. First, it runs warm-up iterations to warm up the Java virtual machine to allow compilation into Java bytecode. After that, when multiple benchmarks have been run, it can calculate various measurements like average time, the throughput, that is the number of operations, etc. And finally, to improve the accuracy of the measurements, JMH runs the benchmarks on multiple forks of the JMH, which leads to reducing the errors in measurements. Now, let's just first start with a brief overview of how this framework works. So, the framework is available through Jenkins Test Harness, and you can easily use your Jenkins inside the benchmarks. We have a Maven profile in the plugin POM for running benchmarks, and you can even run your benchmarks directly on CI Jenkins.io. There is a build pipeline step for that. And you can also use configuration as code for setting up the benchmarks. Now, to run a benchmark, you basically have to run it directly from a JUnit test. All the benchmark classes that are annotated with JMH benchmark are automatically found, and a temporary Jenkins instance for each individual fork of the JMH benchmark is started. So let's take a look at how a benchmark looks. So basically what you have here is you have to create a state class. These state classes are automatically instantiated by JMH, and these are the only way to pass information into any benchmark. So we have two methods here for setting up and cleaning up your resources. The first one is the setup method, and we have a teardown method here. Then your benchmark methods are annotated with benchmark, and you take the state as a parameter to the benchmark function, and your benchmark code goes here. Now, to configure the instance that was started for the benchmark, you can either use your Java code, your methods that you have in your plugin, or you can use YAML files from configuration as code. We do not yet support using local data, that is the config.xml files for Jenkins Home, but that is a future improvement. Now, let's take a look at how you configure a benchmark using configuration as code. So just like the previous one, instead of JMH benchmark state here, we use the configuration as code JMH benchmark state, and we need to override two methods. The first one is the path to your YAML file, and the other one is the enclosing class, the class that contains the benchmark. So in this case, it's the sample benchmark, and you can continue like you did in the previous benchmark. For viewing the benchmark reports, the benchmark reports are available through either a Java object that's available inside your unit test that you're running the benchmark from, and analyzing it, you can even fail the builds if they fail to reach a given threshold. The reports are written to the disk after the benchmark completes in JSON. And these reports can include multiple measurements, like I said before. So you can measure the average time, the single shot time, that is the time without any warm up, and many more things here. For ease of visualization of the reports, there's a JMH report plugin for Jenkins, or there's the JMH visualizer website to which you can pass the JSON reports. So this is a sample report that was generated using JMH visualizer. This is an actual pull request from a role strategy plugin, and you can see how big of a difference we can get from a small change here. Now, let's take a look at how it all works. So basically, it all starts from a Jenkins test harness, which contains the benchmarking framework. This Jenkins test harness is made available through plugin POM. That's 346, the latest release. And configuration as code uses them to configure the benchmark using configuration as code. Then we have the pipeline library that has a run benchmark step, which runs benchmarks on CI Jenkins IO as a part of your pull request builds. And finally, we have a role strategy plugin, which uses all of them. So this basically contains all of our benchmarks that were created during this coding period. The benchmarks are now run as a part of the pipeline. And now these will help us in the next phases to improve the actual performance and measure the performance improvement of a particular change. Some bugs and challenges that I faced. So the first thing is the test scrum issuer from Jenkins test harness was refused to be marshaled. That is something related to configuration as code and JEP 200. The other thing is the Jetty server on which Jenkins runs is leaving stray threads. So this causes the JMH benchmark to wait for 30 seconds for each fork, and then it forcefully kills the JVM. Another issue that I faced was I used the reflections library originally for auto detection of benchmarks, but that seemed to cause version conflicts with the Guava that was in Jenkins core. So now that has been fixed. So the next steps would be more benchmarks for the role strategy plugin. And I'll start working on improving the performance. Then we'll use the benchmarks for measuring the actual performance improvements and address feedback from the adopters. Next, I'll just move on to running a simple benchmark from the role strategy plugin. So we have one benchmark here that is using configuration as code. This is the benchmark method. This measures the time to create an ACL object. That is something related to the role strategy plugin. And we have a benchmark runner here. So inside your IDE, you can just run it like any other JUnit test. Let's just wait for it to compile. This is configuration as code setting up the instance. And now, as you can see, the first warm-up iteration has been completed, and it took 0.84 of a microsecond for an operation. Let's just wait for the benchmark to complete, and I'll show you the results. So as you can see here, JMH is running multiple iterations of the same benchmark. This same process would be carried out in another fork of the JVM. So in the meantime, I'll just show you a report that was created previously. So this is what a report looks like. Now this report can directly be fed into JMH visualizer. So we have a report and we just put it here and we can just see how fast it's going on. So I would request you to please contribute to help improve this framework. You can either contact me through the Gitter chat or through Jenkins developer mailing list. Last but not the least, I would like to thank my mentors, Oleg Nenashev, Runzejia, and Sukun, uh, for their help and support throughout the coding phase. And thanks, everyone.
Thank you for the presentation. Any questions? Okay, so no questions in the chat as well. But yeah, I guess it's not the first time when we have this presentation. It has been presented at platform seed meeting, at project meetings before. So maybe many people already asked questions there. And yeah, in any case, we will get the video posted and we will reuse it. So as I mentioned, I would like to say that yeah, Abhyudaya does a great job. For the first coding phase, we didn't really expect the framework to be fully productized. So we started from implementation in a role strategy plugin, and it was completed maybe in the first week of coding or something like that. After that, we spent a lot of time productizing it, moving code to Jenkins test harness, to plugin POM, passing through code reviews of maintainers, documenting the things. And yeah, I would say that maybe half of this coding phase we actually spent not on the implementation of the framework itself, but on productizing that. Yeah, I guess it was quite an experience, and yeah, it's really great to see that because now all these components are already available to all users in production components. So yeah, you can just take them and use them, and it's really easy for developers. I already integrated a couple of tests in my own plugin, and yeah, I'm looking forward to see more adoption for this framework in Jenkins. So yeah, thanks a lot of you there. It's a great progress. And yeah, for all strategy plugin itself, we've got a couple of performance fixes which should improve the situation a lot in the next days. So hopefully we'll enter this code soon as well.
Thanks a lot for your support too.
Yeah, thank you. So no new questions? Okay, so Prastik, are you ready?
Yes, Oleg.
Okay, so yeah.
I share my screen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So hello everybody. I'm Prastik Gyawali, and currently I'm doing a project under Jenkins as part of the Google Summer of Code program, and my project is Artifact Promotion plugin for Jenkins pipeline. So I'll quickly give a short introduction about myself. I am Prastik. Currently, I'm pursuing my engineering studies from NIT Jaipur, India, and I'm currently in my second year of my engineering studies. Also, this is my first time participating in the Google Summer of Code, and also like my interest and inclination towards software automation has brought me to contribute to Jenkins, and I'm very apart from that, I'm also interested in data structures and algorithms of complex systems, and I love participating in hackathons. So that is all about myself. Uh, so Talking about mentors, I've had four mentors: John, Klaus, Oleg, and Mats. Two of them were technical advisors. Uh, so, like in this presentation, I'll give you a short overview and introduction about my project, the updates, and also the updates about what I've been doing in the past month, and also about the future implementations and approaches to completing this project. So that is what I'll be sharing. So first of all, uh, I'll quickly give a short overview of my project. So it all started with the promoted builds plugin not supporting the pipeline structure probably because it was developed before the pipeline was introduced in Jenkins. So as a result of which, the current implementation does not support pipeline. This is the reason behind the inception of this project, is to make the promoted builds compatible with the pipeline. What would the new feature do? The new feature would run an on-demand promotion when the pipeline build is already completed inside the pipeline, and the promotion would be in a way a bit different than the conventional promotion, in such a way that the new promoted build would instead trigger a new promotion job. A new promotion job would be triggered after all the promotion criteria conditions are met, and this promotion job would be containing all the build and job information of the upstream jobs that actually triggered it. So this standalone promotion job would be having all the information of the upstream jobs that triggered it and all the conditions consequences related to it. And also after that, we also expect to track the flow of those builds inside the Jenkins by using the fingerprinting engine. However, this was our initial planning. There were certain changes incorporated in the community bonding phase and in the first coding phase. So I'll talk about the changes. What were the actual changes decided in this phase? Is First of all, a new plugin, as the name suggests, artifact promotion plugin. A new plugin won't be made, but instead what would be happening is, we'll just incorporate all these new features, and we just merge them into the existing promoted builds plugin, and we'll be having a type of monolithic code for both freestyle and pipeline projects. And the reason behind this is because even if a new plugin is made, uh, a lot of dependencies would be still uh, come from the existing promoted builds plugin. So it is we thought, we discussed this with our mentors, and we thought that it would be better if we incorporate all these changes into the same plugin, and have both the functions inside the same plugin. And also, what I like to say is, in the existing promoted builds, many of the modules extension points are tightly coupled, so those have to be refactored before using them for pipeline. So our main focus, the first focus, was to refactor the existing extension points, instead of detaching, as mentioned in the proposal. Instead of detaching the existing extension points and making a duplicate of those extension points, we'll be refactoring the existing extension points already being placed in the promoted builds plugin. And also we'll be making new classes for other classes like promotion processes. These are very much big modules of the promoted builds, and we think that instead of refactoring, just making an intact duplication of these modules would save a lot of time and help the plugin work smoothly. So the new workflow, the design for the pipeline promotion that was decided after all these changes was that like previously, currently, what happens in promotion is input is taken from the web UI, but instead of that, since we're using it since we're aiming to use it in the pipeline, we'll be taking the inputs from the declarative pipeline scripts, making scripts and giving commands through the pipeline script. And the same extension points that is being used in the freestyle project would also be used in the pipeline promotion, but after proper refactoring to support it with the pipeline by making them pipeline compatible also. And also, as I've already said, that new analogous classes would be introduced, and uh, mm, and after that, if the promotion criteria's conditions are met, we'll be triggering a new promotion job as already discussed, and pass the bill information to the new promotion job and use fingerprinting engine to track. So this is the final design for the pipeline after discussing about all the changes. So next, like this flowchart would give you a short description about like how the previous promoted builds and the new anticipated promoted builds would look like. Previously, it will just the input would come from the web UI. Now it will be coming from DSL, from the declarative pipeline, and after that we'll be refactoring the promoted modules, promotion modules, and after that we'll be triggering a new promoted job, and after that promotion would be deemed as successful. So this is how the promotion would be working in the pipeline. So like talking about the progress of coding phase one, I'll give you a short update about those. It was more or less focused on the refactoring of the existing extension points. Also, there were some attempts made to introduce new pipeline promotion logic by making new promotion classes, and also some DSL scripts steps for self promotion was also introduced, but these are still in the development phase since these classes are highly evolving. As we go on adding new classes, these classes will eventually evolve. So these are still in the development stage. And some of the extension points like promotion badge, promotion condition descriptor were also refactored, but they're still undergoing the unit testing before getting merged into the promoted builds. And these the uniqueness about these extension points is that they highly depend on other modules, as I already mentioned that they are tightly coupled to other modules. So for that, to refactor something or something as promotion condition descriptor, we had to again make changes to many of those dependent classes like upstream promotion condition, self, manual. These were also changed, and also new classes interfaces like promotion run, etc. were also added, but still they are in the unit testing phase. Since this coding phase was more or less related to the refactoring of the promotion logic, a particular demo for this is I don't have a particular demo right now, so I'll just without further ado I'll just go on with the plans that I plan to execute in the next coding phase. Is to just complete all the refactorings that were not done in that were not completed in the first coding phase, and also unit tests for all those modules and introduction of new DSL steps to be done in the next coding phase. And these are all the relevant links. If you wish, I can put them on the GitHub chat. So this is all from me today. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Any questions from anybody? It looks like we didn't get so many questions during the morning sessions. So yeah, let's see how we improve it next time. Klaus, would you like to add something? Yeah, likely not. So yeah, if you have any questions about the presented demos, please go to the Jenkins GSoC webpage. Just a second, I'll probably just show it. So yeah, if you see my screen, you can go to Jenkins IO projects GSoC. If you go to this page, you can find all information about the ongoing work and about ongoing projects for Jenkins. Yeah, we started from 7 projects. So one project has been canceled by now, but still there is a lot of projects and a lot of interesting information you can find. For example, if you want to know more about role strategy, performance improvements, and about performance testing frameworks, you can just go to this wiki page. You can find all the information. And if you want to ask any questions, each project page has links to GitHub channels, and you can use these links in order to join project chats and to ask questions. In many cases, they're just integrated with product chats. For example, this one is a role strategy plugin. It's a GitHub chat for role strategy. Pretty much the same for other projects. So, for example, if you go for a multi-branch pipeline for GitLab, it uses GitLab branch source plugin as a link. And yeah, for promoted builds, there is also a project chat being used, although yeah, the website has been already updated, so you can just go here and find the demos. What happens next for GSoC projects? Yeah, as I said, tomorrow we will have another set of demos. So there will be 3 demos, one for plugin installation manager CLI tool by Natasha, Another one will be about remoting over Apache Kafka working on Kubernetes by Long. And there will be also a demo of working house plugin UI improvements. This is a major project for changing all the UIs for React. So if you're interested to see what's going on in these projects, just join these demos. And yeah, in 1 month, we will have another wide session where we will have more presentations, and we will be able to present content which is more ready to release, and hopefully all the projects will have alpha or beta releases by this time. Okay, and that's it from me. Any last minute questions?
I don't have any last minute questions, but I would like to congratulate everybody. It's a very good job well done.
Yeah, indeed. So yeah, GSoC already always helps us to target some critical areas of Jenkins which didn't used to get much attention before. For example, support of pipeline and promoted builds is one of the most voted Jira tickets, more than 100 votes. Pretty much the same for multi-branch support in GitLab. And role strategy plugin gets a lot of escalations about performance issues. So I believe it's also a great project, especially since we also deliver a test framework for all plugin developers. So yeah, thanks all for your work, and yeah, see you next month. Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'll stop the broadcast. If somebody wants to stay on the call after that to discuss some topics, we can do that. Okay. Thank you.